Good morning, guten Morgen. No, it's I don't know watch. It's 9:40 a.m. It's a Wednesday, and this is our second. Can we call this our second day in Berlin? This is our second day in Berlin, and we are gonna have breakfast at this place which is like 1 minute away from our apartment that sells kebabs and basically Turkish food. Today's plan is to go for a very historical and very meaningful and very long walking tour to Sachsenhausen Memorial, which is the place is a memorial location for the Jews who died during the Holocaust. Yes, people, the Holocaust is real. Okay.
There's a rumor going round about you. I quite like to find out if it's true.
So we're walking to the trains called S-Bahn. We're going to. Okay, I'm bad at this. Really bad.
We're going to.
So my thoughts on Berlin. See a little closer. Okay, I'm going to say the truth now. The city is extremely reactionary. It's like everything. It's built on the reaction of the history of the city. It's like there's a wall and the Jewish thing.
Well, you just.
Yeah.
Okay. We're discussing water. Yesterday we went to a convenience store at Mariana Strasse, and we saw water and it's like so cheap, so we decided to buy it.
Like six.
I bought Evian because you know.
Cheaper than what we were buying it
Kat mana? Oh, at those shops yeah lah. We bought a bottle of water for €250. That's like $4, $4 Sing dollars. So we saw at this convenience store. This convenience store sells 1.5 liters for 1.5 liter. Can I? Okay, go ahead. 1.5 liter. We bought a 1.5 liter for €1.50. So it's very worth it. But
because we can't speak. Because we don't read German, we didn't realize it was sparkling water.
do you like sparkling water?
I like sparkling water. I find the lack of sparkling water in Singapore so sad. Appalling.
Whatever lah. So basically it's water but with gas. I can't even take a sip of it. It's like weird.
It's like healthy champagne.
It's like soda water without the sugar.
So this is where the main entrance prisoners we've marched in through this area. We've been coming through here and enter the camp through this gate. Now most of the structure we're looking at here is still original from back at that time. As you can imagine, it has had a bit of work done to it, but most of what we're seeing here is still original. And as I said before, when you're looking at the structure itself, a few things probably tend to stick out to you. For example, there is a clock right on the top. That is set on the exact minute, 11:07. That is meant to represent the exact point of entry by the Soviet and Polish troops that entered this site on April 22nd in 1945 to liberate Sachsenhausen. Saying that, however, I don't really understand why they have chosen to pinpoint that exact minute. As before, when they entered this site here, they found about 3,000 prisoners still left inside the camp infirmary. They were just too physically weak to even be able to be moved. Therefore, even after the point of liberation, many of them still had to stay here inside the camp to try and be rehabilitated. Many of them unfortunately were just too far gone and lost their lives during that time as well. So for example, when you look through the trees over here, you may see scattered throughout there are small little memorials. These are memorials to those prisoners that lost their lives after the point of liberation. They're actually buried throughout the trees here. So he's saying that I think it just made it very easy for the media at that time to pinpoint the exact point of entry by the Soviet and Polish troops on that day. Now another thing you may realise, looking at the actual gate itself, the infamous wording, Arbeit, Mach, Frei, work will set you free. This was used on most of the entrances of the concentration camps the Nazi regime were in charge of. It's actually from propaganda. It was taken from a German novel, a story of three gamblers who through hard work found their path to virtue. So again, as I touched on briefly, all they're simply claiming for these working camps, teaching people a good, honest, hard day's work. Once they could contribute to society again, they'd be re-released. Obviously, we know now that's not the case. For example, if you look around the half-shaped circle, there's a lot of big gravel pits on the ground. They're what I was talking about before. They let us know where the prisoner barracks were, the size of what they were as well, just so we understand the scale of what it was like back at that time. The very centre over here behind me, the two big long buildings in the very middle, these were pointed out earlier at the map. The left-hand side is the old laundry facility here for the prisoners. The right-hand side is the old kitchen facility, where now it has the main exhibition we'll be having a bit of a look at later on as well. Now, in saying that, just focusing back on where we're standing here at the moment, looking back at the watchtower, you probably see there's a little green room at the top. This room at that time, the site was put to use, actually had a machine gun sitting inside it constantly, facing up towards us. It was never fired upon, however, just one of very many different methods they used to intimidate the prisoners here in the camp. Now, as I said, roll call actually occurred here in this half-shaped circle. It occurred 2 to 3 times a day. Therefore, as you can imagine, it was a very big part of their daily lives here in the camp. Every prisoner had to be present, even to the point if a prisoner had passed away or opened up the barrack, the responsibility of those other prisoners in that barrack to bring the body out to roll call to be accounted for. Now, the first roll call would take place between 5 and 6 a.m. in the morning. So in many cases, they had to wake up 4 a.m. every morning. They had to clean their barrack out completely for an inspection. Quite often this inspection was performed by a green category prisoner, speaking about earlier. Once this inspection was satisfactory, they could have their breakfast for the morning.
Okay, we are taking a break from the walking tour of Sachsenhausen Memorial. And I was just having a conversation with one about how well designed this prison ground, this what do you call this? This labour camp. This concentration camp is. It's like straight lines, and yeah, it's a camp that makes sense. What do you think, Wan? Scarily well designed. It's true. So now we're walking towards the center area where we're gonna have a break.
Now, when the prisoners being brought here, led to believe anything that was actually going to take place was actually going to occur. This centre here itself was given the name Station Z. Now, obviously Z is in reference to the last letter of the alphabet, also reference to the end of the prisoner's life. In many cases, camp guards would turn to prisoners and declare, "You came here to Sachsenhausen through the gates of Watchtower A. The only way you are leaving this site, which is the chimneys of Station Z." I said, however, when prisoners being brought here, they were led to believe anything actually different was going to occur. I actually told us this is just a health clinic. All was going to happen was have their health examined to understand the kind of work they could perform when they were here inside the camp. So they'd actually be taken all into the very centre of the building to a little undressing room, told to take off all their clothing, and then one by one they'd have their health examined. From that undressing room, they could go one of 2 ways. They're taken to the left-hand side, taking the very small room here behind me, a set of stairs leading up to it. It was actually a late addition here to the centre itself. It was built in 1943. It was the gas chamber here in Sachsenhausen. Now, historians aren't very clear as to how often this gas chamber was used here at this camp. For example, they do know at least a group of 30 women being brought from the women's camp near here, Ravensbrück, being brought to be exterminated using the gas chamber here. Apart from that case, they know it wasn't used very frequently. Perhaps the gas chamber here was actually more of an experiment at learning how to conduct things like that to use in other camps to follow. Because of that, the main method of execution here is they're taken to the right-hand side of that undressing room. From that undressing room, they go into a doctor's waiting room. This looks like a normal doctor's waiting room, expect to see a doctor's clinic today. Even had a record player playing very relaxed music, very relaxed atmosphere. And one by one they were told to go and see the doctor. From that waiting room they went into the doctor's room. Again, this just looks like what you expect to see in a normal doctor's clinic even today. Even had a doctor's station there. This was actually an SS guard dressed in doctor's uniform. They're told two things would take place. First, they're asked to open up their mouth to have the health of their throat examined. This was actually a way for the SS guard to find out any gold teeth in their mouth, any fillings. They did in fact find they had gold teeth in their mouth. They then drew two lines inside that prisoner's arm. Once they'd done this, they then said they were going to get their height measured. So that height measuring rod I spoke about before back in the exhibition area comes into the process. As I said before, unknown to the prisoner, it was very simple. They'd walk over to the wall where the height measuring rod was located, stand up to get their height measured. Unknown to the prisoner, there was a hole behind the measuring rod that led to a soundproof room behind that wall. As I said earlier, two guards situated, all they had to do, take in turns, putting their gun into that hole, pull the trigger once, the prisoner be executed in the back of the neck. As I said, this was the main method of execution here in Sachsenhausen. As I said before, that waiting room, the prisoners were waiting to get their health checked, had a record player playing music. This was actually to drown out any noises perhaps other prisoners may have heard of this process taking place. Once the prisoner had been exterminated, they'd actually have the body removed to a very far back room of this building here, to a very big room that had hay laying down in the room, and then our body would actually be examined. The last part of the process where the prisoner's body had been moved was not performed by another SS guard. It was actually performed by other prisoners that made to work here inside the centre. They actually kept in a different barrack away from the other prisoners, so there's no chance of them letting the rest of the camp know what was actually taking place. Again, they just had to do all the work in the centre the SS did not want to have to do themselves. They actually removed the prisoner's body, hosed down that room, so that for the next victim to come in, the same process take place to them. Once they had the executed prisoner's body in that back room, they had to examine the body for any of those markings I spoke about before on the arm. If they didn't in fact find any markings, that prisoner then had to open up the jaw, extract the gold teeth from the mouth, as the SS had melted this down for gold. Once this had occurred, they'd actually take then the executed prisoner's body over to crematorium, we see the remains of even here today, to cremate the body. Now, at its capacity, the crematorium here in Sachsenhausen could burn up to 600 bodies a day. As I said before, prisoners and the rest of the camp weren't meant to know what was actually taking place here. As you can imagine, however, when it was working at its capacity, quite often there'd be a lot of smoke over the camp. Quite often that smoke had quite a strong smell to it. It was very obvious to the rest of the camp to understand what was taking place.
To liquidate all the camp's occupants as the Red Army closed in. I remember that the monthly summary of change reports for February included 7,000 deaths. André Grevenrath. For days now, no more marching out to the work details. For days now, less and less food being handed out. For days now, the thunder of the guns of the approaching Red Army. For days now, we have had the dull feeling that something awful is about to happen. Will we be marched away? Or liquidated? Gas? Flamethrowers? Grenades? More and more transports arriving, bringing new inmates to Sachsenhausen from distant concentration camps. For months now, our nights have been punctuated by the salvos of machine gun and rifle fire from the executions in the nearby industrial yard. For months now, night for night, the anxious question, when is it my turn?